Good morning, everyone. It's a beautiful day in West Michigan, isn't it, today? Oh, well, maybe not so much, but hopefully the sun will come out one last time, and then we'll see it again about next April after winter hits. So I'm Bill Smith, president of the Seidman Alumni Association, the people that put this together with the Peter Secchia series, and we are very pleased today to have you all here. We have a full house. Those of you that are in the back, there are a few seats up here in front if you'd like to move your way up and find a closer seat. We don't charge any more for those seats, so come on down. Today it is my great pleasure to introduce not only a friend and a colleague, no, it's not Doug, Frank Blossom, who actually we took the locks off the door and allowed him to come visit us today. He teaches over at the School of Communications in Advertising and PR. And I teach to my students that it's all about networking. How do you get the really great people on your team? And you do that by networking. And I would like to say that we had all the connects to Doug, but we didn't. Frank knows Doug, and Frank was the one that was able to bring Doug in. So I've asked Frank to introduce Doug for us today. Frank, why don't you join me and tell us a little bit about Doug?
Good morning. Thank you, Bill. As Bill mentioned, I teach advertising, and I love teaching advertising, but I don't teach here at Seidman. I teach in the Advertising and Public Relations major, which is part of the School of Communications out in Allendale. And we're a big major. We have 600 advertising and public relations students. And so this morning, we're pleased to partner with the Seidman College of Business and the Joan and Peter Secchia Breakfast Series to bring Doug Conant to Grand Valley. Last night, Doug met with a few of our advertising and public relations students and faculty and alumni in a fireside chat in one of the few rooms here at Grand Valley that actually has a fireplace over in the University Club. And it was a great experience. And Doug, I've known for a number of years. I've always been impressed with him. And he has a tremendous resume of leadership positions and accomplishments, honors, and successes. And it's way too long for me to go into today because you're here to hear Doug, not hear me talk about Doug. So we printed out a highlight reel or highlight sheet on your tables with some of the many accomplishments that Doug has achieved. But I think that Doug may be most noted as the man who put the chicken back in America's favorite chicken noodle soup. And along the way, helped turn Campbell's from really a second-tier company in trouble at the bottom of the Fortune 500 list into one of the most admired, respected, and successful food companies in the world. And Doug's done it with a leadership style that he's going to talk about today. And it's a leadership style based on honoring not himself, but honoring those that he works with and celebrating their successes. So it's my honor today to introduce a friend, sometimes a tennis partner, and always an inspiration, Doug Conant.
Good morning. Some of you got that. Some of you, those of you who are awake. I see a few of the students that were in our group last night. Where are you? I saw a few of you that I recognized. You don't want to identify yourselves. Understand that. I was telling Frank that Grand Valley State gets the award for the best Twitter engagement after a talk that I've ever given on a per-person basis. Boy, they were tweeting like crazy after our session. And it was fun to see what they were taking away from the conversation. And it was encouraging because I think they actually took away what I had hoped they would take away. And I hope you do too today. I've had a wonderful life journey through the world of business. You know, I noticed out front, Mr. Seidman, there's a quote there, I've had a great life. And I've had a great life too. It's been a real blessing. I've had lots of opportunities to contribute, and on a good day, I'm helpful. But, and I work hard to make every day a good day. You know, what I'm going to talk about today is started out at 30 years in the rearview mirror, and then I got older. So now we're just over 30 years in the rearview mirror. But the reality is, starting next year, it'll be 40 years in the rearview mirror. 40 years of life experiences that are all packaged up neatly for you. And I'll cover all that territory in 12 lessons over 50 minutes. So you're getting quite a bargain today. You're getting I have about a lesson every 3 or 4 years, and you're getting them every 3 or 4 minutes. So enjoy it while you can. All these lessons, as I was reflecting on it in the hotel this morning when I woke up very early because I couldn't wait to get started, you know, I've always been fascinated by American presidents. I started out as a political science major at Northwestern, and one of my favorite American presidents was Gerald Ford. What I will talk about today, I want you to think about Gerald Ford when I go down this list. He would check every box. High character, high competence, great work ethic, not trying to take shortcuts, always trying to do the right thing, honoring people. He would check every box. So it's sort of a blessing to have an opportunity to talk with a group of people who come from his hood. So what I'll do now is I'll take you through a little of my background. I'm going to fly through it because you have it on your tables. But we have created this organization called Conant Leadership that's dedicated to helping improve the quality of leadership in the 21st century. We make no money. Hopefully we don't lose too much. And we believe that my generation has an opportunity to really contribute to the dialogue about what's happening as we go forward. I told the students last night that in 10 years, 70% of the workforce will be made up of millennials and Gen Xers. And our job now is to share with them the lessons we've learned and to help them find a way to incorporate what works for them in their lives as they go forward. So this is very much a pay-it-forward time. I've had a series of corporate experiences, very challenging. I'll talk about some of them in a few minutes. I started my career with General Mills, went on to Kraft Foods after being fired at General Mills. Was recruited into Nabisco right after Barbarians at the Gate and had to help rebuild that company. And then was recruited to Campbell's as CEO and had that job for 11 years. I was also on the board of directors of Applebee's. We took it from a small, tiny casual dining chain in the Southwest to the largest casual dining chain in the world. And then I'm chairman of the Avon Products Board, and I'm also on the Amerisource Bergen Board in Philadelphia. I think it says we're the 29th largest company in the Fortune 500. We're now the 12th largest company in the Fortune 500 and growing fast. Deep engagement in not-for-profit world. One of those highlighted on your sheet is the Committee Encouraging Corporate Philanthropy. What we're seeing is this major trend of major corporations finding ways to give back, leveraging their skills, assets, and capabilities to help build a better world while they try and build a better company. It's clear to executives across the landscape that they have to move their corporate agenda to be better aligned with the societal agenda. And they're doing it. They're doing it in ways that can work while they continue to meet the needs of their shareholders. But they're finding they can do both. And it's just the tip of the iceberg there. One of the fun things I have an opportunity to do is go out and speak. I've covered maybe 50 campuses in the last year, and Grand Valley State is #1 in terms of tweets per student. So you Grand Valley folks, come on, don't let me down. Keep it going now, all right? And it gives me an opportunity to have my finger on the pulse of what's going on today in a variety of corporate settings and academic settings. And we're all in this together, and I see people starting to work shoulder to shoulder in enlightened ways to build a better world, while we also try and build a prosperous world. Involved at Kellogg, at my alma mater, Kellogg, and I love my work there. My writing partner and I wrote the book Touch Points. I encourage you to read it. I will touch on it in a few spaces, but it has really helped crystallize my thinking about what is required of leaders today to lead in such a fragmented, chaotic world. And I encourage you to read that. This is where I'll start. This is my mother and father. I was born in 1951 in a small town north of Chicago. That's my father, Roger Porter Conant. His family was originally from New England. And my mother, Elsie Jean Russell. She's from rural Mississippi. Her parents came over from Ireland and after the Irish potato famine, and they were farmers in rural Mississippi. That's me. I was pretty cute. You know, I think. I didn't stay that way. You'll see in the next picture. That's me now, and that's my terrified younger brother. I'm the oldest of 4 boys, so of course I am always right. You get that. If you're an oldest, you get it. If you're not an oldest, you get it. I went on to Northwestern. I got my undergraduate degree in political science, and then I stayed at Kellogg and got my graduate degree in marketing. I met my wife, Susan Lee Pearson, originally from Michigan, other half of the state, Birmingham, Michigan. We were married at Martha Mary Chapel at Greenfield Village. And love of my life and my best friend. We have 3 wonderful kids. Ben, who lives in Chicago, Sarah, who lives in Washington, D.C., and Tyler, who lives in New York City. So we spend a lot of time in Chicago, Washington, D.C., and New York City. Worst places to be. We also have actually a home here in Holland, Michigan, where we've had this home for 30 years. And so, as I was sharing with our table, I've been in the phone book in Holland, Michigan. Of course, one of the students said, "What's a phone book?" You know, but I've been in the phone book for 30 years in Holland, Michigan. I'm going to share with you 12 lessons today, and this is going to be like a lightning round. So we're going to fly through it, but you will get the point. There are 4 guiding thoughts that I would share with you that kind of transcend the individual lessons I'll share with you. And the first one is, as I look back on my career, I see there has always been a need to be tough-minded on standards and tender-hearted with people. I started out in an either-or world in the corporate world. What do you want me to be, tough or nice? And I had a chance to visit with Robert Schuller, and he had written a book, Tough-Minded Faith for Tender-Hearted People. And he challenged all of us to embrace this abundance mentality and be both. Be tough-minded on standards and tender-hearted with people. I have carried that line with me, and it has served me well everywhere I've been. As a corporate executive, you have to be tough-minded on standards. You have no choice, or you're out of a job or out of business. At the same time, 999 of the decisions made in a day are made when you're not in the room. So the people working for you and with you need to be carrying the water, and they need to feel valued, and they need to feel cared for. So this notion of being tough-minded on standards and tender-hearted with people is essential. The second one is that you can do better. Sometimes we get to a place where we think, I've got this figured out. Forget about it. You can do better. And the thought I would share with you is that better is best. Building a continuous improvement mindset into all you do every day will serve you well. If you try and do a little better tomorrow than you did today, you will. And in the fullness of time, your ability to contribute will be elevated. The third thought, the soft stuff is the hard stuff. Every derailing study you will ever read will talk about the soft stuff. When people fail, it's not because they didn't do the return on investment analysis right. It's because they didn't communicate it clearly, they weren't trusted, their intentions were questioned. the nuances of communication get in the way, and as leaders and contributors, we have to pay attention to the nuances. And we have to recognize that the soft stuff is the hard stuff. And then I have this wonderful quote from Desjardins, which reminds me that this is a spiritual experience. It's not a physical experience. His quote is, "We're not human beings in search of a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings in search of a human experience." We have to manage the spirit of the people with whom we live and work. We have to encourage it to grow and prosper if we want to grow and prosper as contributors. Those are the 4 guiding thoughts. Now I've got 12 lessons, and you fasten your seatbelts here. I'll slow down on a few of them, but I'm going to go fairly quickly here. They're broken up into 4 chunks: starting the journey, preparing yourself, and then once you're prepared, stepping up to the challenge and activating things, and then ultimately prevailing in the face of adversity. And adversity will come. It comes to all of us. And it's how we respond to that adversity that defines our contribution profile and our ability to help build a better world. I'll take you through all 12 now, and here we go. Number 1, empower yourself. Stephen Covey had some great language he used. He became a close friend and mentor of mine. And he used to talk about, Doug, between the stimulus and the response, there is a space. In that space is the power to choose your response. The single greatest power you have is the power to choose your response to any and to every situation. He said, you need to learn to activate that. You can't feel as if you're a victim. You are making choices. He talked about it between the stimulus and the response, ability to choose, and he helped me think about it, responsibility. I have the ability to choose my response to any and every situation. It's foundational to his habit 1 in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is be proactive. You need to own your response to every situation. I was fired from a job at General Mills and shared a little bit of that story with the group last night. I won't get into it in detail here, but I was summarily fired after 9 years and basically told one day, I came in, the manager couldn't look at me, said, your job's been eliminated, you need to pack your things and be out of here by noon. 9 years I'd been there. I was devastated and I was bitter. I went home to, as I said last night, my wife, my 2 small children, and my 1 very large mortgage, feeling every bit the victim. And ultimately, they put me in touch with an executive outplacement person by the name of Neil McKenna. He was a crusty New Englander who had survived life-threatening circumstances in World War I. And he was not going to hear any of this poor, pitiful Patty me saying how I was a victim of all this. He said, you've got to suck it up. You've got to turn the coin over here. You can't live in the past and what you've lost. Your job now is to create the world's best job search. And you need to be focused on moving forward and making choices about how you want to proceed. You need to take control of the situation. The language he used for me, which I still remember, is to turn the coin over. And to this day, I'm glad he did, because it helped set me straight for the rest of my career. And that was, gosh, 30 years ago now.